Hello! Hello. I hope you're all well. It's been a while. I'd say it feels like that's because it has been a while. Last stream we did was the very impromptu, meme-alicious Barbie stream that we did on Sunday. But we're back again. Apologies, I've not really been around much this week. I thought I was about ready to come back properly. Wasn't the case at all. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, touch wood, next week will be very different and we'll be able to get back on with stuff though. Couple things to mention. We have started uploading the VODs over to the YouTube channel. So if you want to catch any of the streams but aren't able to be around like during them whilst they're live, if you head on over to, well, the link is up above there, Eldritch Sophie Paints Minis, or exclamation point white C, will take you to the YouTube channel. There is also a second channel where we're going to be uploading video game related content, which first video that's going to be going live this Saturday, and it is a trimmed down version of the full playthrough of Poppy Playtime Chapter 1 that we did several months back. So that's a thing. If you want to go check those out, absolutely follow the links down below. It would be greatly appreciated. Reason being is if we get to 50 subscribers on the main YouTube channel, which is the mini painting one, that's the one that's the link down in the description. Down in the chat there. Wow, already starting to talk like a YouTuber. Then we can actually start live streaming on YouTube instead of here on Twitch. I'm not going to lie, it's looking more and more tempting by the day to actually just fully migrate over there. I haven't fully committed to that yet. For now, I'm just kind of waiting and seeing what happens. But let's just say the landscape here on Twitch is in such a way that I'm really starting to give thought to moving to other platforms. But for now, I'm here and we're going to do some painting. It's going to be fairly low-key. We're not going to be making a big fuss out of it. That's why I've not really mentioned anything on any of my socials that I was even going to go live tonight, because I wasn't 100% certain if I actually was or not. And it's just mostly in aid of the fact that I've got a mountain of painting that I would like to get done before Sunday. Because I've got an Age of Sigmar tournament at my local game store on Sunday morning. And the army's built, which is certainly a thing. It's not fully painted yet, so we're going to try and crack on with that as much as we can tonight, and we're going to try and do it quickly as well, which is going to be no mean feat considering one of the things that we are going to be working on is the big bastard Mortek crawler, the giant gnarly catapult that the Ossiarchs have. Because, you know, who doesn't need a massive, actually fully functional catapult, as I found out last night, to just, you know, stick on the table and go, come at me, comrade. Like, seriously. I'm endlessly amused by that. I mean, I know it's only a small thing, the fact that I didn't want to commit to any one of the 3 weapon options for the actual design of it, so I just magnetized all 3. Plus, because you can use all 3 in game, you don't have to stick with any one. It just kind of looks a little bit nicer that you just be able to go, right, this turn I'm firing that thing, which is the if I remember right, that's like the once per game thing that you can throw out. So yeah, we're gonna be doing that today. I'm just going to keep going, to be honest with you, until I feel like stopping. Might stop by about midnight, only because, you know, it's midnight time till pumpkin then. But, yeah. If nothing else, then I'll probably be back online tomorrow doing more of it, so it's a thing. Yeah, so no Spooky Saturday tomorrow, because I want to get all this done. Spooky Saturday will be coming back next week. Right, without further ado, let's get on to it. Let's get on with it then. You will have to bear with me a little bit. Just while we get everything set up nicely for this. I'm still sort of like desperately as well trying to tinker with my like stream setup in terms of like the desk layout, like what actually appears on my desk. Like, do people really care if the palette's on show or not? I know I'm kind of working with limited space, which really doesn't help, because this is all covered with like equipment, like monitors and lighting and all that other junk. It is what it is, I suppose. Right, okay. First things first, in order to actually get this painted and painted quickly, we're going to do a mountain of dry brushing, just because it's going to make my life 1,000 times easier. So I've got my little dry brush set up here, which is just a couple of old IKEA bits, one of which I've hot glued like a load of other bits to it. Nothing especially fancy, but it does the job. Right. I'm going to start with some cold grey, because in keeping with my Terracotta Army / Petrifex Elite theme with these guys, I want a lot of like the big siege engines to appear as though they're made out of like the fossilized remains of like ancient gigantic beasties. So we're going to be doing the main body of this whole thing in grey. I'm going to quite happily take that bit off, because we can do that. Actually, we can do that in a stone effect as well, can't we? I'm going to come back to that. So again, just for the sake of expediency, we'll go for a nice big poofy dry brush. And just load that up with paint. There we go. Right, I think we'll start with the arm raised up. And yeah, this is by all accounts not going to be the easiest thing to do in the world, but we're going to manage. Working in nice circular motions. Basically want to cover the whole thing. We don't need to worry about being too neat with it. It is pretty bloody huge, to be fair. And it all kind of adds to the ancient petrified effect that we're going to be going for with it. Again, we want to kind of make this look like ancient fossilized bone. We're basically applying a similar kind of philosophy to how we did the Gothizzar Harvester a long time ago, which is actually still up on my painting shelf because I've not actually finished that damn thing. I will get around to it one day though. To be fair, I have another one of them to build and paint at some point. My original idea for this amulet was to run both of them, but I quite sensibly did a little bit of asking of the hive mind in a friend's Discord, someone I know who's pretty obsessive about the game and about this faction in particular, and sort of paused some medicines going, here, pick it apart, let me know what you think. This is kind of like the general vibe I'm going for. Any suggestions? And one of the first suggestions was, yeah, get rid of the Gothizzars. Just tried new contrast paint I got and I'm in love. Oh, is that the Leviathan purple one? I have to admit it does look bloody nice. But yeah, his first piece of advice was get rid of the Gothizzar Harvesters. They got a massive nerf recently, and they're borderline useless. And I was like, wait, what? But they're some of my favourite models. And I was like, yep, unfortunately, because of this big change to the way they work, if they go up against armies that have any amount of shooting, they're basically just a big, fancy-looking paperweight. So that was a little disappointing, to say the least. So instead, we're taking this big boy. Leviathan purple and the smoke effects on terrain pieces is just chef's kiss. Ooh. Please post pictures. That sounds fantastic. Right, I'm going to have to swap down to a smaller dry brush just for the sake of getting into some of those harder to reach areas. But for the most part, we're pretty much done already. At least just on like the initial coats and effects here. Like, yeah, there's a few bits I could absolutely go a little bit more heavy-handed with, so I'm going to. Big in the Discord. Okay. I shall have a look in just a moment. Right, let's have a little look then. Ooh. Oh, that does look good. That looks fantastic, actually. Yeah, that's a very vibrant purple. I'm gonna have to borrow that off you, actually, just to compare it against something for reasons. No, that looks absolutely fantastic. Also, all the things I've missed recently. Look what Mango's been working on. That's adorable, Charmander. It's looking fantastic. Ooh, I love this. Asriel, I'm guessing. Very nice. I'd personally go a bit darker with the green for the armor, but that's just me. I'm loving how the Deathwing Terminators are coming out, though. Like, that pretty much nailed the colour there. But no, that looks fantastic. I love how it kind of goes with your vape pen. That's really cool. Not sure if that was intentional or not, but it's still a nice touch. Right. So, smaller dry brush, but not too much smaller. Still one of the bigger ones I have. She need more paint. Just using this smaller brush just to get into all those harder to reach nooks and crannies. Mostly the likes of behind the legs. Okay, we're not really going to sweat the small stuff with this. There we go, and I feel like we've got most of it at this point. Just with this second pass. Right, okay, I feel pretty good about that. Might actually turn the exposure up a little bit. There we go. That's better. I'm going to stick with this dry brush for now, just for the sake of what I'm going to do next. I'm going to move upper colour into Stonewall Grey, which is a much sort of lighter, dustier grey. We're going to use this to catch highlights more than anything else. And I really do want most of this off and most of the moisture gone before I apply it onto the model, because I really want it to have that kind of dusty, aged, just recently excavated out of the earth look that fossils tend to have. Yeah, it's still way too moist. Want most of that gone. I'm just going to keep going until it's about the consistency I want. That should do it. I'm mostly just catching all the raised areas. Not really worrying too much about detail. So mostly just paying attention to all these raised areas around these ridges and spinal columns, around the feet on the bottom. I'll do the same with this mouse wheel on the outside. Just those tusks, got to build up the colour a bit more towards the tips there, so you get a sort of gradient from the lighter colour into the darker there. There we are, just need to apply some of that onto the inside. Again, just to really catch those sharper edges from all angles. This isn't a lighting situation, this is more a depth of material situation. Right, there we are. And again, just for the sake of experience, we're going to be sticking with dry brushing throughout most of this, I feel. So for all of the Ossiarchs themselves, we'll stick back to our terracotta colour scheme. So terracotta to start with. And this, we do want at least a little bit of the moisture still left behind on it, so that's probably about as much as we need. And we'll just very carefully pick out the individual models sat on top of the, well, stood on top of the crawler, not really sat. And for the most part, we just want to try and be careful and avoid getting any of this onto the actual crawler itself. Which is its own challenge, to be fair. That's one of the beautiful things about being able to just move that loading arm out of the way. I don't know the technical terms for bits of catapults. I'll freely admit. Now I'm going to try and do the one inside the mouse wheel here without affecting the ball around the outside too much. If it really comes down to it, we can always go in there and neaten it up with an actual brush. Just something I might do in a moment or two. Now we have just 2 more to go now, so I'm going to load up with some more paint. There we go. You can just sort of like see through the rib cage on the other side that it's not quite completely there, which is really quite annoying, but you know, never mind and all that. Right, that's him done. And we've just got the lookout on the top there. Carefully does it, because he's not really held on by much. I already know I'm going to have a hell of a fun time trying to transport this damn thing. That's partly why I decided to build it with the option to have the arm up or down. There we go. Great. So, with that in mind, what we can do now is we can go ahead and swap to an actual brush and neaten up some of these areas. And I think, just for the sake of it, we'll go straight into some of the stone wall grey, thin that down with a nice amount of water there. We'll just pick out the areas we accidentally hit with the terracotta. Hi, Mango. Thank you for the hydrate, dear. I'll deal with that in a moment or two. And yeah, we're going to end up with a different finish ever so slightly to some of these areas, just by sheer virtue of this being the case. But so long as it's not too much, you can kind of still deal with it. There we are. I think we've got most of it at this point. Hi, Zombie Case. How are you doing? Where's that Zombie Caser? As in zombie cheese, which I appreciate. Sure, you think about it, cheese isn't just zombie case. Oh, I got it right the first time. That's fair. So surely zombie cheese, like surely all cheese really is just the zombified state of milk. Just shower thoughts brought to you on a painting stream. Damn it. Right. Oh. I think we can live with that. Likewise with that down the base of this guy's feet here. I think we can live with that. Thank you. It's the big catapult for the Ossiarch Bone Reapers for Age of Sigmar. I kind of need it for a tournament I'm in on Sunday. You know, it's deadlines, pressure. It's fine. It's fine. We got this. Thank you. It'll literally be my first time playing the game. I have absolutely no idea how it's gonna go. Right, I'm not gonna worry about the birdie up there. At least not right now. It's probably gonna be one of the last details I even touch. Right. Just to get myself at a nice position across pretty much the whole model, I'm gonna move over to doing all the metallics. Because that way, once that's done, I can pretty much just shade it with the exact same paint. All of it is getting some Agrax Earth shade, so... Oh, with the exceptions of these guys, I do need to hit them with some Reichland flesh shade. And, ooh. I missed a bit. I think that takes care of that. Right, so I'll quickly shade up all of the guys manning the Mortek crawler, because that won't take long. Might actually stick with this brush. Might make it a bit easier. Yeah, that way I keep it nice and focused to just these dudes. And I minimize the risk of getting any of this shade out onto the crawler itself. And this just helps bring out the red in that terracotta. The new resin 3D printer so quiet I can tell if it's done or not when it's sat behind you. So long as it's actually doing well, that's the main thing. I know we've been having a few issues just trying to get some of the exposure settings right on it. But yeah, for those who are probably unaware, we do have a 3D print store. We have just recently acquired a new printer, the Saturn Pro or Saturn 3. I think exposure's good. I picked up and realised it was overexposing. Ah, right. Saturn 312K. We print all sorts. I'd say there's a link in the description. I keep saying that. There's a link in chat at the moment there to our 3D print store. Feel free to go have a look. We also do a lot of custom on-demand jobs as well. So if you have a bunch of heads that you want printing, and you either have access to the file or know where to get it, let us know. Drop us a message through Etsy and we can sort it out. That's fine. You can also drop us a DM in Discord. Either myself or Vixen's Miniatures, otherwise known as Ember does a thing. And we can have a look for you, depending on what it is you want us to do. Our only requirement at the moment is that you be UK based, because thanks to a certain word beginning with B and ending in Rexit, international shipping is now an absolute nightmare from this country. Like, to the point where borderline costs us more to send stuff out than we'd ever actually get back from the products. Just a sad reality of things. The stuff in Puppets were only ordered from there once. It took a month to get to the England, and their stuff is really good. Oh, right. Oh, well, if you're England based, then yeah, by all means. By all means, drop us a message. They're from Poland. Ah, right. Not familiar with them. Might actually be worth just quite quickly there, just doing those hands. You can buy a steel files from them too. Ooh, that's good to know. I'll definitely take a look. Right. We'll do all the metallic bits now, so some tinny tin for all the bronze. And I think I'm just going to keep all the metallics the same colour, just makes it nice and easy. Again, speed is kind of the name of the game with this. There we go. But yes, we now have a much bigger, actually higher definition as well, 3D printer to play about with, which is great fun. And just for personal use at the moment, I'm currently in the middle of printing out all of the Daka stores Alpha Legion proxy stuff, because it looks absolutely phenomenal, and because, you know, I absolutely desperately need yet another Chaos Space Marines army in my life. But I'm actually aiming for it to be one that I can use in Horus Heresy as well. Okay, we've got this kind of like winch thing down here as well. And also down here. Okay, I think I'm going to be neatening up some of those areas. Got a few bits that are clearly meant to be bone that I'm hitting with the metallic paint by accident. Also do this like weather vane thing up here. Actually, I know that entire thing there is probably meant to be metallic now that I look at it. It's a pretty easy fix. It would make more sense. I'm not gonna lie. There we go. Right. think there's too much more to do, metallics-wise. I think it's just daft little details, such as any of their like tools and equipment. There we go. Probably do with neatening that up towards the back there a bit. I kind of want to do these in metallic as well, actually, so I'm just going to repaint over these bits. Because I kind of liken these to like the chains of an anchor, which I think is kind of what it's meant to be. It's meant to sort of hold it into place. Whilst they fire it. Might need to glue that bit back down again as well. But that's fine, I can deal with that afterwards. I'm not going to worry about it too much right now. Not gonna lie, I didn't expect myself to be painting myself. Oh, love it. I'd say you just kind of end up, getting the urge when you watch these kind of streams sometimes. It's like, oh, I'll just have it on in the background. Won't actually intend on painting anything myself. And you just kind of go, actually, you know what? Let's get the paints out. Just paint up this random sword here as well. As I say, we'll just hit all the tools and equipment and such at the Ossiarchs on top of the crawler happen to be carrying around, so things like the head of that mallet. Might stuff desupporting and curing. Yeah, go for it. I was going to do that myself after the stream, but no, go for it. Thank you, I appreciate it. Saves me a job. Right. Then we've got whatever the heck this thing is. Because, like, legitimately, I have no clue what this thing is meant to be that he's carrying. Looks like a little hand drill. And I don't know enough about, like, siege engines to know if it has any kind of function. Ooh. Completely missed all sides of this. Right, I think that's all of that. I mostly feel like I could probably just hit everything with a second coat. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Just nice and quick. Again, don't have to be too exact with it. At this point, it is mostly just about coverage. That's how we got pretty much everything on the first pass. So it's just sort of like mopping up extra bits now. And just doing a very quick second coat of everything. Now, not spending too much time on each of these little bits, because we're just aiming to get it done nice and quick. And we'll just do a quick second pass on all of the equipment. So yeah, I'm picking up like one or two little bits here that I've missed just on my first pass over. That's why I'm kind of glad I did go back and do a second coat on all the metallics now. There we go, right. Nice and easy. Right, next. All of the bits in bone. So we'll move over to some. Tell you what, we'll do khaki. And we'll start off with this big pile of skulls here. We'll just move the firing arm out of the way. Just so we've got a bit better access to all these skulls down here. Feel like that's probably all of them. So we'll just use the same color to paint the wrap around the top of the arm here. And just move it out of the way slightly so we can get to the underside. And I know it's only a small detail, but I do kind of want to get these little last few bits of metallics done as well. I figured I could probably get away with not painting them, but actually, nah, I feel like it needs it. Feels kind of incomplete without it. There we go. Right, I feel like that should be pretty much it. Not much more left to do with this now, other than to coat the whole thing in Agrax Earthshade. Now, I don't have enough Agrax Earthshade to just do the whole model, so instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a load of my homemade dip wash, which is sort of a brown wash anyway, and we're just going to do cover the whole thing in it. Oh, it's quite alright, thank you very kindly though. Right, I'm going to get this big ol' size 8 sable brush. We'll start from the front, work our way around. But yeah, I tend to save this stuff for big projects like this, where one piddly, well, like a little tiny bottle of Agrax isn't really going to be enough. And we're not being shy with this stuff, we're just going to coat everything in it, top to bottom. Including the Ossiarchs themselves. They're not getting away with it without it. Just going to cover all of them as well. And depending how much I want to age all this stuff down, I might still hit some of it with a bit of Agrax anyway. As I say, just really not being shy with this at all. Just covering every inch, every bit of surface in the wash. And to be fair, this is probably it for this model tonight, because this is going to need a long time to dry. Just because there's so much of it. I'm going to move some of it around a little bit as well, just so we get a better coat. Less of it just dripping off of the models. So it actually starts tinting down some of those flat surfaces as well. Okay, we're just going to give everything a nice even coverage, just so it can lay into those recesses and across some of the flatter areas as well. And there we go. Right. And now that my hands and cutting board are a complete and total mess, let's say we can pop that to one side just whilst that dries. And whilst that's doing what it needs to, we can start working on some of these other details. So, just with the paint already out on my palette, I'm going to start with some of the bits that go with the Mortek crawler. So we'll start with this thing here. Oh. And some more paper towel. Right. Again, keeping everything pretty consistent. We'll paint this up in the tinny tin. Right, I'll pop that to one side for now. Not much more we can do with that just yet. Oh, completely forgot about this thing. I did say we were going to paint this separate, so... There's a whole section here that I missed with the primer. Oh well, never mind. It's still going on quite nicely, so that's fine. Plus it's the bottom of it anyway, so who's really gonna care? But yeah, we'll just do this collar around it first. Again, pop that to one side. We'll do the cartouches on the front and back of it later. Right, now we've got this cauldron thing. Best way really to describe it. It's a cauldron, it's full of souls. It gets yeeted at the enemy. Which, considering the Ossiarch's whole thing, feels like a bit of a waste, but I'm not going to question it. Yeah. There's another bit that I'm basically just going to have to leave and just leave it to one side for now. We can do is work on this bit next. This big old thing of skulls. We'll just cover all of that. This might take a couple of chords, but we'll see. We'll see how it turns out. It's only because this is a notoriously hard colour to really paint, especially over black. Right, that's gonna have to be it for the first coat of that. Right, and now we come on to some fun bits, which is the endless spells. So I'm thinking at the very least with this guy here, I kind of want it to be as though this thing's made out of sand. So I've got some ideas with that. But for now, let's just give it all. Let's just give it all a good dry brushing with that bone colour. So we'll actually start with desert yellow. Because with this thing, I'm kind of getting very kind of... remember the 1990s Brendan Fraser mummy films? The big sort of wall of sand with the face in it? I always get that kind of vibe with some of the Ossiarch endless spells, so I kind of want to reflect that. We'll take our slightly bigger dry brush, say medium-sized dry brush, load that up with the desert yellow, just start working it all over our texture palette. And so we have kind of the right colour that we want. Like, to the point I'm almost tempted to actually paint this up in some texture paint first. Which could be kind of cool now that I think about it. Don't know. I'll have to give it some thought. I think what we'll do though, we'll just start dry brushing and see where I go from there. So the beautiful thing is, this is kind of already the same colour of Armageddon Dunes. So if I were to work a little bit of texture paint in it here and there, it's not going to look too out of place. And then of course I can always dry brush back over the top of it. So that helps, definitely. Gotta try and do the inside of these claws now. Yeah, that makes a good start on it, if nothing else. Right. Next up, in keeping with this whole theme of just dry brushing, just to get things done quickly, we'll start on this thing, the Bone Tithe Shrieker, or at least the central column of it. Oh, thank you, Ember. It's greatly appreciated. So for that, we're going to go into some dark green. Which, oh, that's way more than I actually need. Oops, never mind. It's fine, we can live with that, I think. Which looks a lot brighter than you would expect it would need to be for our usual sort of jade marble kind of effect that I tend to go for with this. But if you do it over black, it pretty much sits at that right shade of green, especially once you then tint it down. We're keeping some of the moisture in this because we want it to look smooth. We'll also take that down into the sort of spell effect down here, just for the sake of making that much easier at a later time. If we give it that nice sort of hit of green now, fundamentally it's going to look very different across all of it once it's done. Once again, back on the texture palette just to get most of that off the brush there. And we'll start working this in and around the insides, just like so. Yeah, Just like that. Right. So we can leave that to one side. What we'll do, however, we'll take this and we'll start working this into some of the areas where it's needed. On these other models, which is largely just these other bits for the Mortec crawler. Just gives us a bit of a foundation to work with when we go back in and pick out the details of those at a later time. For now, this is just sort of a bit of a base idea of how it's going to look. And it also means if push comes to shove, if I don't get this lot finished before Sunday, almost everything will at least have some colour on it, which is ideal. These bits I'm not 100% certain about yet, but I think for now what we'll do is we'll hit them with a quick dry brush of the dark green and go from there. We've got 4 of these to do. So we'll get them out the way nice and quick. Right, next one. Right, and for this one, with the nature of the Soul Stealer carrion here, what I'm going to do with that is I'm actually going to go ahead and we'll start working some night blue into the same dry brush that we've just been doing with the dark green there. So we'll keep that dark green on. We won't clean that down. Because what I'm going to aim for is for a colour where one kind of fades into the other. Just sort of slowly over time. There. Right. And come back to those bits. For now, what we'll do is we'll just give the entirety of the burb here nice heavy dry brush of the night blue. Again, we'll just build up these foundational colours. Just being very careful because the connection points between this burb and the pile of corpses below it are very thin. It's, you know, stellar design work by G-Dubs there, but hey ho. Right, just got to do that tail, hopefully without breaking it. This one I'm not super worried about because this actually isn't part of my list, but it is all part of the same kit that the rest of the endless spells come from, so I may as well get it finished and get it done. And it's quite a cool design, so I do kind of want to put some work into it. Right, and with that in mind, we're going to go into some of the dark green. Into some of the dark green and into some of the night blue. Mix those together. And it's kind of already naturally mixed in with some of that white that was still on the dry palette there. Sort of create this lovely dark turquoisey colour. Actually is going to work out quite nicely. And what we'll do is we'll start from about the midway point, sort of here, and just sort of lightly brush this over. lightly brush this over everything. We're going to build up a couple of different colours in terms of midtones and highlights that we're just going to dry brush over the whole thing. As I say, we'll start with this nice dark turquoise first, because that will help the transition from the dark blue into the dark green happen much more seamlessly. Right, with that in mind, again, we won't actually bother to empty that brush. Instead, what we'll do is we'll start applying our colours pretty much from the word go. We'll stick with the same dry brush because it's about the right size that I need just to get this done kind of quickly. With that, we'll go into some turquoise, a little bit, just a little bit of the night blue. We'll be very light with this because we don't just want to flood this with colour. What we'll do is we'll start on the top edges here, focusing primarily on sort of like the top third of the model and its wings. Just nice and light. Turn it around, do the same on the underside. Again, just sort of focusing it in onto that top third. And down the body into the feet. And we'll catch like the first edge across there like that of the larger wings area of the wingspan. And then what we'll do, we'll go back into some dark green. Gonna pop that there. Again, notice how we're not cleaning our brush in between applications of this. We're just going straight into the colour. Picking up some more dark green as we go. Comes on so much already from seeing the black model earlier. Oh, definitely. It's a huge difference what a little bit of dry brushing can make. And this time we'll go in the reverse direction, so we'll start from the bottom of these wings. We'll work our way up towards the middle there. Do the same with the tail feathers there. Start from the bottom, work our way up to the midsection. So you sort of have more kind of like a subtle blend between the blue and the green there. Do the same on the underside, except this time what we'll do is we'll leave the body alone. And we'll let the dry brushing get a bit heavier towards the bottom of the wings, a little bit lighter as we work our way towards the top. Oprah's haunting our printers. What? That definitely requires some elaboration, please. There we are, and where those two colours meet, they kind of nicely subtly blend into each other. Get a fail print, you get a fail print, you all get fail prints. Oh no! Oh no! No, that's no good. Right, this time we will actually clean the brush off. Just so we can keep these colours nice and separate from each other. Again, back into the dark green. Oh, thank you for the hydrate. I'll take advantage of that in a moment or two. Right. Back into dark green. Back onto the texture palette. And with this, what we'll do is very lightly work towards just the very bottom of the wings like that. Do the same on the other side, again keeping this just towards the bottom. Be right back, I might have to go check up on something. Are you alright in there? Just did a Oh no, what happened? Sounded like it fell over. Right, for the next bit, we'll go into some Baharoth Blue. Didn't realise my cable wrapped around, feet stood up eating shit everywhere. Oh no! Oh dear. Hope that's not left you with too much to have to clean up. Right. Bit of Baharoth Blue. And we'll stick in the Baharoth Blue there because we don't want any of that green to get in. Want it to stay very firmly blue. Kind of like a pale tealy colour. Right. What we'll do with this is we'll very lightly brush it in over the edges, topmost edges of the blue there. So around the skull, top of the rib cage, also work some of it down, the legs and main body, and just along the very top edge of the wings. Like so. And just very lightly bring it down into the wings, into the feathers below, and like that. And that is actually the birdie done. Rest of the details, they'll come later. For now, that's actually the vast majority of that one specific model finished, which is kind of fun. What I can do now, though... Hey, Hut Armories, hope you're doing well. Let's give this a good clean. And pop this away. We probably are not going to need that for the rest of the night. Doing pretty okay watching and painting. Awesome. What is it you're painting? I'll deal with those bits later. What we'll do now, though, is we'll start applying some shades. Non-metallic gold, Spartan assault tank. Ooh, that's a big project. Oh well, best of luck to you. Hope it goes well. Eldari Emerald, that's what I need. So we'll get some Eldari Emerald contrast paint. And we'll thin this down so it's more akin to a wash. I'm just going to get some contrast medium. So we don't want this to be super rich and vibrant, it just needs to be enough, if that makes sense. And get this nice big brush that we were using earlier. Give those a bit of a mix. And we'll cover the entire surface of the monolith in the middle in that slightly thinned down contrast paint. If it gets out onto the spell effect underneath it, that's fine. Not the end of the world, we can deal with that later. For now though, we just want to cover the entirety of the Bone Tithe Shrieker just in that colour. Like so. Right. And that is just going to need some time to dry, so we'll leave that to one side. Give that a good clean. And I tell a lie, actually, I'm going to need a little bit of... I am going to need to do a little bit of dry brushing on this before I continue, I think. Although... no, actually, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go straight into my technical paint, straight into the Armageddon Dunes. I'd actually prefer Armageddon Dust for this because it's got a finer grit quality to it, but hey ho. Work with what we've got. And we'll just use the thin end of the texture spreader. Yeah, if you've got pictures to share, please feel free to do so. I'd love to see them. Right. I'm just going to pick little areas of the model where I would think it would be appropriate for there to still be some like flowing sand. Like, we'll mostly concentrate this around the base here. And we don't quite want to cut all of it. We do kind of want to have a bit of a less is more approach with it. Just want to build up a little bit of texture. So once this dries, it pulls some of that surface paint away and just leaves the texture behind. We'll apply some of this around like the bottom edges. Of the sort of cloak here. Yeah, we don't want to build this up so that it's like stupidly thick. It just wants to have that little touch of sort of flowing sand. So we'll like focus it around the bottom edges of these holes. And sort of deliberately building up texture. So I know it's sort of like the anathema of mini painting, like we want as little texture as possible, we want it nice and smooth, but in this instance that's not what we're going for. We want it to build up a little bit of grit. I kind of want this to have this sort of impression of like a sand dune that's taken malevolent form. Now you can see it's already starting to dry towards the bottom there. You already kind of get the idea of how this is going to look. Again, just sort of pulling it down in a downwards motion, so you kind of get the idea that the sand's sort of flowing over itself. Also fit some in and around the eye sockets there. Sort of edge highlighting with texture paste in a way. Certainly a bizarre move, but I like it. I think it's coming out quite nice. Right. Now, for the most part, just kind of gotta let that do its thing. I'll work some in up towards the back of the hands here, though. And base of the skull as well. There we are. And again, for the most part, just kind of have to let that dry. Can't really do too much more with that right now. However, what we can do is we can start working on some of the other details on this. So what we'll do is we'll give all of this quick second coat. Just want the brush I was using earlier. And that'll do. Right, and same again. We'll just do a quick second coat of the tinny tin just across the entirety of this piece here. And same again with the cauldron here. Just hit that with a nice second coat. Just makes things a little bit easier. And just with the skulls, same again. We'll do a quick second coat of the khaki over all of it. Right, and last thing I'm going to do before I finish up for the night is I'm just going to go over all of this stone here with this khaki colour. We're just going to try and keep it neat to the inside of this metal collar here. We can brush up against it, but I don't want to go over it. Just working nice and neat, one side at a time. I'm not going to worry if I get any on the cartouche in the middle. On the cartouche in the middle. Just very carefully does it. We'll do it on this side as well. So we'll use the top and the bottom to anchor our fingers so we can try and keep away from where we've already painted. Yeah, to be fair, the vast majority of that is going to require second or third coat anyway, so I'm really not going to worry too much about it right this very second. The question is this texture paint dry enough now that we can just hit all of that with some shade paint? Actually, yes, it is. Fantastic, right. So, last thing we'll do before we go is we'll slather all of this in some skeleton horde, which I am very quickly starting to run out of. But luckily, as I say, going to my local game store on Sunday, I'll pick some up whilst I'm there. Honestly, it's going to be the best thing I can do. I'd probably best write a little list of all the paints I'm going to need. There we go. Pick piece prints with the difference between epic and standard 40 sizes. Standard 40k is usually played at a scale of about 28 to 32 millimeters. As in, like, your average size dude is supposed to be about 28 millimeters tall in terms of scaling. Epic, for whatever reason, and the name is horrifically confusing because of this, is actually about 6 to 8 millimeters. So it's tiny. Absolutely tiny. Like, it sort of makes sense in a very GW kind of way. Like, it's meant to be... It's meant to be able to simulate epic battles, like big, massive armies, like full-on, full-scale armies, including titans and all of the weird and wonderful, like massive stuff that exists in the setting of 40k, but at such a scale that, you know, you can just play it on a regular wargaming table. Like, to the point where even some, like, the bigger vehicles and stuff, like bigger vehicles, bigger tanks, are about the size of, like, matchbox cars. Whereas, again, this is standard size. Like, this is to 28mm scale, which is kind of terrifying when you think about it. Like, these guys here on the Mortek crawler, they're about the size of, like, a normal guy in standard size. Just been asked if I can customize some stuff to Epic. Oh, okay, cool. I dare say we could. I mean, we recently did that Engage stuff for that. Engage scale stuff for that woman on Etsy. So I suspect it should be pretty doable. And to be fair, Cult 3D is full of epic scale STL files, which is both a good and bad thing. Good thing, because if you're looking for that sort of thing, there's a lot of variety. Not necessarily a good thing, though, because I find that there's a lot of stuff listed on Cult 3D that I would like to be able to have access to. But unfortunately, when you then look into it, it's like, oh, it's to epic scale of 6 to 8mm tall. And it's like, that's not really helpful. That's way too small. It's like the new game that's coming out. I think it's Legiones Imperialis. Is effectively the new 40k epic. Because everything is tiny. Oh, sorry, I think it might be Horus Heresy epic, actually. Because, again, everything is tiny. As you know, they didn't have enough specialist games to deal with as it is. A lot of which just do not flat out get any support whatsoever. There we go. That should do quite nicely for a big demonic spell skeleton-y thing made out of sand. Got more to do with that later, but right now, not much we can do except wait for it to dry. So, I'm going to take that opportunity to stop there, and we'll come back to this all tomorrow. I don't quite know what time I'm going to go live just yet tomorrow, because, yeah, I could basically spend the whole day doing this stuff. But, you know, at least everything that I'm taking with me on Sunday has paint on it, even if it's only a little bit. You know, it's not going to win any kind of painting competitions, at least not in its current state, but that's fine. Right. Nothing new's been uploaded into the Discord, I don't think. Oh no, I tell a lie. Mango's apparently working on some... Mango's apparently printed off a bunch of Charizards, which is kind of cool. But... yeah, okay. What I'll do in which case then is I'll see if there's anyone even remotely online that I can just chuck you all at for a raid. Ooh. There we are. Patchwork Goblin. I don't normally get a catch her stuff because she's usually online very late. At least in comparison to me. So I'll chuck you all at her. I'll be back tomorrow. I can't say exactly when, so just keep your eyes out for now. And I will see you all next time. Bye!